Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Juggernaut, and I bought a new monitor recently, and a couple of you guys have asked me to review it, and, well, I promised I would, and here's the review, a little bit delayed, but here it is. Now, for a good while, I sat in my room thinking, okay, how the hell am I going to review this? I mean, I'm not a professional tech channel. I don't have any of the instruments that one would need to adequately and professionally review a monitor. I can't measure its delay, I can't measure its contrast, I don't have any of those things you attach to the screen to give you those sorts of readings. I don't have any of that. I can show you the box, I can show you the monitor itself, but you can go online and check those things. I mean, I will include a clip about now, I think, roughly, or thereabouts, right, where I'll show you how the monitor looks, how it pivots up and down, which I think is pretty cool. You can rotate it left and right and tilt it, and the ergonomics are really good. I mean, they're the best of any monitor I've ever had thus far, and that's fine. It's a really cool and attractive-looking design. It's a high-quality piece of tech. It's rather expensive, too. I mean, again, compared to other monitors I had, the specific model, if you're interested in, is the LG GN850-B. There you go. But irrelevant. The point of the matter is, this is a 1440p monitor. And I thought, well, here's something that I don't really see much on the internet. Let's compare the performance in video games between 1080p and 1440p, and overall give you my general impressions about it. The delay, the 144 Hz, gaming experience, and stuff like that. I thought we might as well try, why not? And thus, we arrived to this video. So, there's a little bit of an intro before we get into the actual split-screen performance review, I suppose. And that is, well, the golden standard under which everything is made. The UI in video games, the objects, the interface in websites, everything nowadays is 1080p. Phones are not included in this conversation, obviously I'm talking about PC. So, for example, if you boot up something like World of Tanks, something like Stellaris, the default scale of the UI is 1080p. And then, from there, you have to increase the size of the UI for higher resolution monitors. They're just not that common, and ergo, the UI isn't created for them. The problem here is, in most games, this can cause some issues. This can cause issues with the mouse clicking is a little bit offset in some UIs, which can be fixed, but it is a little bit of a hassle. That's the case in World of Tanks, for example, if you use the scaling mod. If you use the game ini files to scale up the UI, it works a little bit better. In Stellaris, the resolution of the UI remains the same, it's just stretched out, which is ugly as hell. So why is UI a problem? Well, some people don't realize this. When you go from 1080p to 1440p or above, the UI actually gets smaller, or rather, it gets smaller to you. It still has the exact same number of pixels, it's just that on your screen there's a lot more pixels. For example, I have two 27-inch monitors. Both of them are LG, by the way, not sponsored, I just like LG. They make them relatively affordable, and they make them pretty high quality, right? I love the picture quality on both. So, I mean, for their respective class, right? So here's the thing. It's the same size on both monitors, it's just that one has a lot more pixels on it. So the UI gets smaller, at least visually to us. And when you stretch it out, it looks not very good. And that's a problem. That's a problem in some video games. There are ways around it, but like I said, it's a hassle. Sometimes. With that in mind, let's get into the actual performance of the game, in a game that doesn't have these UI issues. That's Resident Evil Village. So, sorry. I'm going to show you side-by-side clips in 1440p and 1080p. And let's talk about performance a little bit, and then I'll talk about colors, picture quality and stuff like that, all those things that I can't show you because, well, it's impossible, right? And that's the biggest problem with reviewing monitors. You can't show people much of anything. I mean, you can show some things by recording your screen with a phone or a camera, but even then, most of what you see will depend on the monitor you're looking at right now, whether it's your phone, whether it's your home monitor, or whatever. That's what you're going to be seeing, so I'll try and describe it a little bit, but let's get into some gameplay. So right now, what you're seeing on one side and on the other are two separate recordings of the same game. One is in 1440p, or was recorded in 1440p, the other in 1080p. The difference, I'll tell you right now, on average is about 10 frames. 10 to 15 in some sequences. You'll see at one point when I start going up the ladder, in 1080p, I get around 59, 60 frames. In 1440p, I get around 45 frames. That's the biggest difference right there, when there's not a lot of action happening. When there is, it's around 40 frames, 45 frames versus 35 to 30-ish. Slightly above 30. Now, why am I showing you this and not something higher performing, something in 1440 hertz, in 144 hertz and so on and so forth? Because if you don't have a 144 or above hertz monitor, it's very difficult to see those things. The easiest place where you can see differences is between 30 and 60 frames a second, and this game turned out to be perfect for it. Now, here's the thing, I can get better performance from the game. I can lower some settings, I can turn off the billion different programs I have running right now in the background, stuff for my controller, about 15 different Chrome tabs, the recording software, the editing software, all of those things. I have them all open. Thing is, I usually play like this because I'm usually playing the game and looking at or doing something else on the other monitor, so I tax the system kind of heavily in that sense. But it's representative of what my experience has been like with this monitor, and now the ultimate question comes down to this. Is it worth it? I mean, obviously, if you're buying a 144 hertz monitor and you can't get more than 45 frames, the hertz become completely useless. It's irrelevant. But like I said, that's only for this game. I've played World of Tanks at upwards of 120 frames, and, well, there it does make a big difference, yes. Plus, I bought this monitor with the intention to upgrade my PC in about a month. Maybe even a bit less, so bear that in mind. However, ultimately, is the sacrifice in frame rate worth it? Well, for me personally, it is, because ultimately it comes down to personal preferences. I mean, debating whether one thing is worth it or another in terms of visuals is kind of like debating your favorite fast food chain or your car brands or whatever, your favorite car brands, I mean, or something along those lines. It comes down to personal preference, and you're never really going to find common ground with people, and you're not really going to convince everyone. It's just up to the individual's taste. That said, though, when it comes to the picture quality and when it comes to the colors and everything, this LG for me was perfect. For those of you that don't know, and that aren't really all that tech savvy, there's three kinds of panels you can get for your gaming monitors. TN, IPS, and VA. TN is the worst looking one, but the fastest performing. IPS is the middleman, and VA has the highest contrast, but I really dislike it. The reason is, as soon as you start moving your head around, it starts smearing and blurring colors. Some people don't notice it and live with it. For me, it induces a little bit of motion sickness, and I really dislike it. Scrolling through pages on the internet is also really difficult with VA, because as you scroll, the letters tend to blur out, darken, and they get all like smudged and blurry and stuff while you're scrolling. It's a little bit difficult. It depends on the VA panel. Not all are created equal. Some have this problem more, some have this less. But generally speaking, they are also the slowest in terms of delay, even though pretty much every modern monitor is advertised as 1 millisecond delay. That's not true. that's some niche delay that they picked up on 1 pixel of the screen or something. I don't know where they get the number from, but realistically, the delay is much, much higher. Try 10 times higher on most monitors. But trust me, you won't notice it. On VA, it's a little bit noticeable on some of the lower-end ones. On some of the faster ones, you won't really notice it that much. Of course, if you're a competitive gamer, if you like playing Counter-Strike Go, really what I call twitch shooters, where you shoot by twitching your hand very quickly and moving at an exceptional pace, then yeah, there you will see a difference. But for most other games, it's not that easy to notice. Like I said, I don't like VA. I love the contrast of it, but IPS for me is perfect because it's this sort of middleman between the two. And for me, in that perspective, it was very worth it. The colours on this 1440p monitor are very, very good. They pop out, they're bright, I have them next to each other, the previous 27-inch, which is also an IPS, that I had, and the new one, or rather the 1080p and the 1440p one, I have them next to each other, and it's night and day. I mean, everything looks a little bit more grey on the older one. Like, everything looks a little bit more dim, a little bit more blurry, a little bit less pronounced, let's say. The new one just looks a lot better. And for this colour and for this experience, I am willing to trade some frames. Now, of course, ideally, you upgrade the PC and you get just everything better. Better colours, better performance, better everything, right? I mean, you won't get better performance, but performance will stay the same, and visually the games you play will improve tenfold. Yes, this is the ideal world, but for me currently, this has been my experience, and gotta say, I'm in love with this thing. I've had it for about 2 weeks, maybe? No, about a week or so, I think. Yeah, I absolutely love it. So, let's move on to something else. So, one more thing I'd like to mention is how much does the better refresh rate matter? How much does it help in gaming and in everything and all of those things? So, for some games, I well and truly do not care about the refresh rate and about the frame rate, so long as it's above 45, let's say, ish. These are usually slow-paced RPGs, indie games that are, like those 2D indie games, which put a lot of emphasis on the visuals, on the colours, and not on the actual gameplay mechanics. Even a game like this, which you're seeing right now, which is Spider-Man Miles Morales, even in a game like this, where, don't get me wrong, it obviously looks a lot better in 40p than anything else, and it obviously plays a lot better at higher frame rates. It feels more pleasant. The frame rate isn't the most important thing for me. The visuals are. Again, in a perfect world, you would have everything. You would have the highest frame rate, you would have the highest refresh rate, and you would have 4K resolution. But it's not always available. It's not always like that. So with that in mind, there are a select few games which I would play even in 4K resolution, right? I would play, for example, recently I've played Spiritfarer. I would play that game in 4K without a second thought, because frame rate there matters very, very little. I don't care if I have 30, 60, or 480 frames. It's all about the story, the emotions, the colourful visual experience. A game like World of Tanks, I couldn't care less about the visual experience. I've seen every map a billion times. All I care about is the frame rate and doing damage in the game, right? So there's the thing. There's the rub. There's the sort of final niche in between. It really depends on what kind of games you prefer playing. What you find important. Or rather, what you find more important. Because, like I said, all of these things are good. What I will say is... Excuse me? Oh, it's loading in. Okay. What I will say is, even the most mundane tasks, like scrolling through social media and stuff, is a lot more enjoyable and a lot more pleasant on the eyes in higher frame rates and in higher refresh rates. Obviously, frame rate not really a thing in Google Chrome, right? But in higher refresh rates, it is a lot more pleasant, which is not something I expected at all. So in 144 hertz, even just going through, literally just taking the scroll wheel and going through a website is a heck of a lot more entertaining, dare I say, and a heck of a lot more easy on the eyes, and it makes the whole experience a little bit more, well, it puts less strain on your eyes, right? Is that what easy on the eyes means, Juggernaut? You're just gonna endlessly provide us with synonyms. Yeah, look, sorry about that, I'm rambling a little bit, but that's kind of a big deal. What I mean is, it sounds like one small little feature that I'm mentioning, that, basically you scroll through the menus and windows and, everything looks faster and better in 144 hertz. Not necessarily faster, it looks smoother, I would say. That's probably the best I can describe it, is that it looks a lot smoother. Okay, that is very cool. I've never played this game, by the way, just got it. Sorry about that. So, that is a big deal because, well, you're doing that a lot, right? It's not just something you play for, or something you twiddle around with for 30, 20 minutes and then move on with the rest of your day. You scroll through social media, presumably, most of us do, a lot. You're in your Windows menus quite a bit, right? You're doing things on your computer. If you have work to do, for example, to read something, to do some research, to write something, to whatever, office work, etc., etc., all of it is much easier on the eyes, and all of it is much more pleasant to do at a higher refresh rate, which I had no idea prior to buying this. I thought, I'd see the difference in video games, but that's about it. And no, that, you see the difference pretty much everywhere. So yeah, that's about it. In Miles Morales right now, with some of the things that I mentioned turned off, I'm getting around 40 to 50 FPS and the higher resolution. So honestly, pretty happy with that. For the time being, at least, for the next few weeks until I get a new graphics card, a new CPU, and stuff like that. I have some money coming in from university and work and stuff like that, so I'm going to invest. I'm going to buy myself something nice for New Year's, right? It's not really investing, but you get what I mean. But I think it has been a learning experience in that you sort of get to see what's important, and for me, I'd much rather have Spider-Man's suit right now look a lot better and a lot more red and a lot more, I mean, that sunset too, look at that. I love that. That looks a lot better on the newer monitor than it does the older one, and that matters. And for visuals and for nice, bright colors that pop out like that and look really vivid and lively, I'd sacrifice 10, 15, 20 frames. Within the limits of reason, of course, being that, it's above 30. Anything below 30 is it's a little bit problematic, and now that I mentioned below 30, it now drops below 30. So there you go. Yeah, it's... okay, this is... mind you, it probably has a lot to do with all the stuff that I have running in the background, so I'll turn those things off and I'll probably get a little bit... That guy's dead, I just killed a person. Alright, there we go. Oh, not what I meant to do. There we go, that's what I wanted. Sorry, I'm completely immersed. I realised I just stopped talking there for a good bit. I am completely immersed in the action. This is a very neat looking game. I probably should have picked something I played before rather than this, but yeah, just look at that. Not gonna lie, that is pretty lovely. Okay. I figure I said pretty much everything I have to say at this point. Ultimately, it is a infinitely personal choice in that you need to decide what's most important for you. Colors, performance, whether you can tolerate VA screens, whether you need the speed and the performance of TN screens, whether you want the middleman. You need to do like a little bit of research. You need to read up a little bit on oh, you're not gonna lie, that was pretty bloody awesome. Woo! Okay, so you need to do a little bit of research and to see a little bit what the differences are and what options you have available to you in your respective country as well, because I saw a plethora of monitors that I really liked that just weren't available. There was one, I think it was an Acer Predator. I don't exactly remember the model, but it looked really nice because it had some backlighting and stuff. Had some cool features that I really liked, and performance-wise it was roughly similar to LG, but I think LG had a little bit better picture quality, and the colors were a little bit better on the LG. But they were pretty darn close, and it just sold out in like 2 days or something, and it just wasn't available for about a month. So yeah, it's you know, availability is also important, especially nowadays when I think things are a little bit harder to come by, both financially and in terms of the available things available to buy, produced, and available on the market. I totally pressed both triggers. What are you talking about? I guess not. Maybe I need to hold? Probably need to hold. Alright, not gonna lie, this is kind of funny. Alright, into the castle, or through it, rather. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Okay, anyways, that's about it in terms of my review and in terms of my monitors and what I have to say about the whole situation. If you have any questions about, anything that you might find interesting or something along those lines, please let me know down in the comments below. I'll try and respond to everyone. I think these are some of the most important things that I could have covered, and the only things that really come to mind in terms of my ability to review, because like I said, not a professional reviewer, and there's precious little I can tell you in terms of actual data, in terms of actual testing, when it comes to the picture quality and when it comes to things like that. So there we go. Alright, that's about it. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Like, subscribe down below if you enjoyed the video, and we'll stay tuned with the rest of the content that I produce on the channel. Until next time, my name is Juggernaut. Have fun, take care, and bye-bye.